Well, hi, hello, and welcome to the Actual Tech Media Enterprise IT Virtual Summit. I don't know about you guys, but I always kind of get goosebumps when we play that intro summit teaser there because I know how exciting these days can be. And today is IT Innovators Day. We are analyzing the next wave of tools, products, and services. This is such a fun, such a cool conversation to be a part of. But it is also a vital and a time-saving one because we all know that it is more important than ever to stay on top of both evolving threats and the solutions. It's important to be aware of these new and innovative tech solutions, platforms, services, everything that can help you supercharge your organization. And that constant evolution is what, and we say this all the time, it makes our job so fun. But it is also, a lot, right? It's a lot. It's exhausting. It's heavy lifting. And luckily today we have some of the most innovative and leading companies in the industry here with us to help with that heavy lifting. You will be hearing from experts at KnowBe4, StrongDM, Rubrik, Red Hat and Forrester Research, and Zerto. This is going to be such a fun, such an interesting day, and I honestly can't wait to jump in. So without any further ado, let's get things rolling here. All right, so we're going to start with a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of introduction. And what I want to do is actually explore your audience console with you. So we're going to kick things off by looking at the questions window of that webinar control panel. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a huge audience out there today. So many of your industry colleagues and peers all gathered together for this summit. So reach out, give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, I do want to give you a quick reminder here that if there's any tech issues that come up today, a browser refresh is going to clear out most of them. But if that doesn't work, you can throw a comment right there in that questions window, and our crew will be there to help you out. The most important thing is that we want this webinar to be informative and engaging, and that means we want to see those technical questions. So throughout today's summit, we hope that you will get involved and make sure to ask all the questions you have about all these cool solutions and strategies that we will be exploring together. Now, I do want to remind you, if you've been on these summits before, you know they go very quickly. We have a lot of information to cover, so we don't always get to every question in a live Q&A session. Now, if that happens, if we don't get to you in a live Q&A session, or we have teams here with us on live chat all day today, so you'll be getting answers over live chat, I don't want you to worry. It doesn't mean that your question has just disappeared into the ether. We send all of those to KnowBe4, StrongDM, Rubrik, Red Hat, and Forrester Research, and Zerto, and they will follow up with you after we wrap. So you will get an answer to those questions. All right, now the next stop on our guided tour here this morning, we all know that good things should be shared. So today on the summit, when you hear something awesome or exciting or interesting, kind of lights you up a little bit, make sure that you share that with your friends. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console. The hashtag for today's summit will be automatically added to your post. And last stop on our guided tour here is I want to make sure that you've spent some time in the handouts tab. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, there's data sheets, there's free trials, there's ebooks, there's upcoming webinars, and lots more. So be sure to click around in that handouts tab and open those tabs, download those resources, save all of that for after we wrap, because I promise you you're going to want to revisit those. Now, for those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Jess Steinbach. I'm a moderator here with Actual Tech Media, and I am so happy to be one of your moderators on this incredible summit. My wonderful fellow moderators and friends, David Davis and Scott Becker, will be joining us here in just a moment as well. All right, as always, it is not just awesome content that we are giving away today. And if you thought our list of experts was exciting, just take a look at these prizes. I'm going to walk you through a little bit today. So you could win on the summit one of 3 Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus, one of 3 Apple HomePods, and one of 3 M2 Mac Minis. Now that is not even including the $300 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away every 30 minutes. So as I told you, this is going to be epic. Just an awesome day. Now, as a reminder, you do need to be here live in attendance at the webinar in order to win. So please make sure you are here with us. and enjoying all of the wonderful content, as well as entering to win some of these cool prizes. Now, I've put up a couple of reminders on the screen for you here, so do take a look at that, including the fact that all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. Now, also, all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you are not sure what those T's and C's are, they are linked for you in the Handouts tab. So head on over to that Handouts tab, and you can find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. All right, now I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think it bears repeating. We love getting all of your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much, we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's summit, we will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked in each one of our sessions. So that means even if we don't get to your question during a live session, we'll be reviewing all of them after we wrap, and then we will follow up with the winner. So get those questions in. All right, if you are a lucky winner here today and you are interested in potentially giving some of that back, you do have the option to donate the value of your prize to one of our selected charities, and you can see them up on the screen here. Now, thanks to generous prize winners on previous Actual Tech Media webinars, thousands of dollars have been donated to these wonderful organizations. So if you're a lucky winner, when we follow up with you to talk to you about that prize, and if this is something that you want to pursue, let us know and we will help make that happen. All right, now we are so happy to have you here live with us at the summit today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. We want to stay connected, so let's get connected on social media. Reach out and find Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, another great way to find some follow-up content, some more resources, and really get information on just about any topic you have in mind is to make sure that you've subscribed to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. So if you haven't already done so, go check that out after we wrap today. All right, now we're going to move things along with one more awesome piece of content. If you haven't already spent some time exploring the Gorilla Guide Book Club, I'm going to highly recommend that you do so. Now, a reminder that all of these wonderful books are going to work on mobile devices, so Kindle, mobile, whatever you've got, and they're completely free. So many great topics, great resources here, all authored by top industry professionals. So please do go check those out. If you haven't already visited gorilla.guide, take some time now and go explore. All right, one last thing here. This is another great way to win a prize and to expand this wonderful community, and that is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in your Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar as well. I want to promise you that we will not spam your friends or your coworkers. We will send them an invitation to a list of upcoming webinars. If they don't respond, they will only get one more reminder from us. Life is busy, so we just send them a little nudge, make sure they saw that message, and then that's it. Then both you and your coworker could win a $300 Amazon gift card. We actually hold those drawings every month, so be sure to refer a friend. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. All right, folks, well, we have covered a lot of really important things already. I think it is time that we get started. And in even more good news here, the moderator crew at Actual Tech Media has a very special treat lined up for you all. We're going to be doing a little bit of fortune telling. You know, this is IT Innovators Day. We're thinking ahead. So we're going to think way ahead with the help of a little special guest star. But hang on, I'm going to get the rest of the crew out here with me, and we'll give this a shot. Let's test it out here.
Hey Scott, hey David, thank you so much for joining us at this special summit all about IT innovations and some cool new ideas and technology. It's great to have you guys here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, well, speaking of innovations, we have a brand new piece of tech that we want to unveil to all of you here today live at the summit. David, do you have it ready?
I do. Yeah, it just arrived in the mail.
Okay. David's going to get that ready and unwrapped. So I want to welcome one and all to the grand unveiling of the Actual Tech Media Magic Oracle. This handy dandy little doodad will predict answers with a certain amount of undisclosed accuracy that may or may not be a truthful representation of a possible could be future scenario. Hard to beat that kind of accuracy, hey guys?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Let's open the Oracle.
We want to test it out. We want to test out the actual Tech Media Oracle today by asking it some questions, and then we're going to fact check it. Not that we need to, because I'm sure that we will get 100% accuracy off this little dude today. Scott, David, you guys ready to be amazed and astounded?
The Oracle
Always.
is freed.
The Oracle. All right. Well, let's start with a good level set question. I'm going to kick this one to you, David. So you tell us, give us the Oracle's answer, and then we'll fact check it. David, should I invest my time looking for new and innovative tech to use at my org?
Oh, the Oracle says very doubtful.
Okay. So David, what do you think? Let's fact check that.
Wow, I think the Oracle is absolutely wrong on this one. But I mean, it's brand new. It's out of the box. It needs some more practice.
Test run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's give it another go.
Yeah.
But wait, David, before we move on, because I think we can all agree that we should be looking for new and innovative tech. But do you have anything you want to add? I do think sometimes we get into a mindset of looking for innovation just for the sake of innovation. Do you think that we should always be looking for innovation, or is there any kind of bumper rail that you would put on that?
I mean, I think we should always be keeping our eye out for new and innovative technology. Because I kind of picture us in the world of IT and the IT organization as like Batman, right? He's always got, new tools. Every movie you see him in, every comic book, he's got some new gadget to kind of save the day. And so I think, smart technology people are always on the lookout for new technology that can help them to overcome the challenges that they're facing.
I love that. Okay, be Batman is the key takeaway from this keynote here. All right, well, let's try a different one. This time we'll have Scott fact check. Maybe that'll make a difference. All right, David, give us a good shake. Is it enough to just do a Google search in order to find new vendors or solutions?
The Oracle says my reply is no.
Scott, what do you think?
I'm going to agree with the Oracle on that one. I think the Oracle nailed it. Google searches are great, but you need a lot more context. That's why you need events like this one where you're hearing directly from the people about what exactly their solutions do and what the issues are, and you get so much more context than you can find sort of on your own on a Google search. So score one for the Magic 8 Ball.
I love that. I think that context is really key. All right, well, we had good results with Scott this time, so I'm going to kick another fact check to him. David, give us a good shake. Should you make these decisions on your own? And what we mean by that is how many, should you be making a decision just within your own team? Should you be bringing in other teams? Should you be bringing in other stakeholders? What does the 8 Ball give us there? Or the 8 Ball?
The Oracle says, as I see it, yes.
Scott?
You should be making the decisions on your own, says the Oracle. Yes. Okay. I'm going to have to disagree with the Oracle on that one. So I guess I'm not the thumb on the scale for the Oracle's luck. It's 50-50 with me. Especially with technology that involves other teams, the sales department or, accounting or marketing or whatever. Those people really need to be in on the decision. It can't just be the IT team. So a clear miss for the Oracle.
Yeah, I'd say the Oracle may be new to IT because that's a sure way to lose your job is to buy some expensive new thing that everybody has to use and you never even told them about it or asked them about it before. So
yes, that's a very good point. And I think definitely bringing those voices in early on in that. I think so often we think we're bringing them in, but we're bringing them in 5 steps when we've really already made the decision. And now you're just kind of running it past. Is there an argument, and I know I'm throwing an extra question in here, but Scott or David, is there an argument for having too many voices in? Do you need to be a little selective so that you can actually make a decision at some point?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That's, it's always a balancing act of, you don't want to slow down the process to the point where you're never making a purchase that's going to advance the business. But you do need to make sure that the key stakeholders are in on the decision.
Okay, I like it. All right, well, let's try a slightly different variation of that question. And David, I'm going to get you to fact check this one. So if you can give the Oracle a good shake there.
Okay.
Oracle, should I bring in high paid expert consultants?
The Oracle says very doubtful.
David?
So I would tend to agree with the Oracle on this. More and more, there's so much information available on events like this, on the internet, from research, analysts, companies like that. No more do you have to bring in an army of 10 high-paid consultants to do the analysis for you. And now that's not to say that, never involve any third parties. Sure, maybe you have a local trusted VAR or something like that, or a kind of boutique like security firm that can help you to do some sort of analysis and implement, a solution for you if you don't have time to do it, or to, analyze what you've done perhaps for the best practices to make sure that it's put in correctly. And so I would just make sure that perhaps the solution you're purchasing has a partner that specializes in implementing their solution. But, you don't want to waste your money on an army of consultants.
I like that point, and I'm wondering if maybe a distinction here is also looking at maybe being more intentional about, if you are going to bring in a consultant, not bringing them in because I think there's some great consultants out there with us today at the summit.
Sure, yeah.
So not to say that you don't need consultants, but maybe to say get the broad strokes information, but choose where you need a consultant. Are you struggling a little bit on implementation? Are you struggling a bit on prioritization? Are you struggling a bit on a specific change management? And making sure that you have a consultant that can help with that niche rather than necessarily just kicking the entire experience to a consultant.
I would agree with that. Yes. And disagree with the 8 ball.
Jess is right. Oracle is wrong. I like it. All right. I've got a few more questions. We're going to run past the Oracle here. David, I'm going to kick this one to you as well. Let's talk about demos. So Oracle, are demos worth it?
My sources say no.
David?
So I would highly, absolutely disagree with that. Personally, I love demos. I want to see it in action. I wish every presentation had a demo, because there's no replacing seeing the solution for yourself. And in my experience, that quickly prompts 10 more additional questions, because I can say, does it do this? Does it do that? How does it do this? Does it interface with that? What if I wanted to do this? Show me how to do it. And also you get an experience firsthand with the usability of the solution, no matter what it is. You get to see how it would be day to day using the solution.
I like that. Yeah, the things you don't even know that you want to know until you start seeing it roll out. All right. Let's do one more here, and I'm going to kick this one over to Scott to fact check for us. Scott, or Oracle to start. Do I pay attention to customer success stories?
The Oracle says, as I see it, yes.
Scott?
Another win for the Oracle. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's that I have to agree, because it sort of tells you the difference between, a solution that's been tested in real environments that other people have actually paid for. Sometimes our eyes sort of gloss over when there's like long slides of, all the vendor or all the customers, or detailed case studies, but they really are important, because it tells you that people are actually using the stuff, and it's working, and they're willing to say that they're using it. So it's working out for them.
Scott,
yeah.
Do you think there's any argument for, how like when somebody applies for a job, they're only going to put down references who are going to rave about them? Is there any suggestion that you would give to an audience member in terms of finding a success story? Like, do you just take the ones given by the vendors? Should you be looking online to try to find them? How do you make sure that you're not just getting a curated like reference list that doesn't actually give you the real picture?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely worth doing some Google searches for news stories about high-profile lawsuits against vendors for certain solutions, or maybe Reddit, and other groups, where people talk about their experiences with things. But case studies are definitely important.
Love that. All right. And I just want to give you guys an update that we are currently at 3 in the right column and 3 in the wrong column. So as I tally it, we're at a complete even standstill. So I think we probably need a tiebreaker question here.
Yeah, this is exciting. Thrilling tiebreaker with the Oracle. I'm going to shake it up one more time. Let's see.
David,
what's the question, Jess?
This is your question, David.
Oh,
you
this
get
is
to
my
ask the
question.
final one.
My question for the Oracle is, will I get a lot out of the summit today?
And
yes, it says yes.
yes, that puts it in the win column. Dun, 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 dun. Look, you can't see that. There we go. My terrible handwriting. And look at this high-tech scoreboard I've got going on here. All right, that is a win for the Oracle, and I'm going to fact check that one, David. I would have to totally agree with the Oracle on that. We've got some incredible vendors. I'm so excited to chat with No Before, Strong DM, Rubrik, Red Hat, Forrester Research, Zerto. Just such an incredible team of experts here with us today. So we're going to get a ton out of the summit. That is absolutely correct. And I think we're calling this a win for the Oracle, guys. What do you think?
57% hit rate.
Just like a broken clock, the Oracle is right at least twice a day.
Perfect. So clearly all of you need to run out and get your actual Tech Media Oracle. I highly recommend. And Scott, David, thank you so much for being here with us to kick off the summit today.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was a good time, and I hope you all enjoyed that little insight into the future, courtesy of the actual Tech Oracle. I think I'm going to see what other decisions I can make with that today. All right. So we have a poll question up on the screen here, and we're looking to see kind of checking in on timelines. So obviously today we're thinking innovation, right? And that always means forward thinking down the line. And we just talked about that, like innovation for the sake of innovation kind of thing, and whether the pros and cons of that. But the one thing I think we can all agree on is that we are constantly keeping an eye out, right? We're constantly keeping an awareness. So you may not have a strict timeline for what you're thinking about today. And you may have a very strict timeline. You might have something that absolutely needs to be updated or enhanced right away. So we're just kind of curious where you're at. What is your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? And right now, just to let you know, because I know you all can't see the results coming in, but I can. And what I'm seeing is a little bit more heavy in the not sure, but not as much as usual. Usually we're kind of a little over 50% in the not sure, and we're at about 37%. So a lot of you in that 6 to 12 month time frame, and then of course the other options as well. So that's kind of neat to see. It looks like maybe you're all here today with a little bit of guideline, a little bit of idea of what you're kind of looking to see and when you might want to see those enhancements come into play, but also maybe keeping a little bit of that open to whatever comes up, which is great. And I see Linda here says it looks like the Oracle needs a reboot. I agree with you, Linda. We'll go turn it off and on again and see if that improves the Oracle's rating for us. All right, well, let's keep things moving along, because I know when I change this slide, we're going to bring a couple of smiles to your faces out here, because you will right away recognize both the team and the name there. I am so excited to introduce you all to our very first presenter in today's virtual summit. Now, as you can see on your screen, we are definitely starting things out with a bang here, because with us now we have the one, the only Roger Grimes, data-driven defense evangelist. Roger, thank you so much for being here with us to kick off the summit. Can't wait to hear what you have in store for us. So the platform is all yours. Take it away.
Thanks, everyone, for showing up today for my incredible ways you can be hacked using email. I know dozens and dozens of really cool ways to hack you using email, but I'm going to discuss the four most interesting and cool ways that I think a lot of people don't know about. At least there should be at least one way that you've probably not seen before. My name is Roger Grimes. Been doing computer security for 33 years. I'm the data-driven defense evangelist for Know Before. I've written 12 books and over 1,000 magazine articles on computer security. There are some of my books. that I've written in the past. I worked for KnowBe4. We're the world's largest security awareness training and simulated phishing platform vendor. I love working for KnowBe4. And today, here are the 4 types of email attacks we're going to talk about. Password hash theft, which I think a lot of people, that's probably the one that most people haven't seen. It's a bit rare, but I think once you see how easy it is to do, it's pretty startling. Then we'll talk about password spray attacks, which are really popular, and then rogue recoveries and rogue forms. So the first one is this idea that I can send you an email that if you just simply open, or most of the time I have to get you to click on a link, but the link in that email can trick your system into sending a Windows integrated authentication challenge response to a hacker server that reveals your password hash. So let me say that one more time. I can create a URL as an attacker, send it to you in email, and all you have to do is open the email, although most of the time, 99.9% of the time, you have to click on the link, but it's not that hard to get people to click on links. But that link points to an object that's on a malicious web server on the internet. It then asks your system to do an NT challenge response logon authentication. The hacker that can capture that NT challenge response information, convert it to your NT hash, which represents your Windows password, and then crack that back to your plain text password. So essentially, in a nutshell, I can send you an email, and if you open it or click on the link, I can get your Windows password. I'm going to show you a video in just a minute. Kevin Mitnick, KnowBe4's Chief Hacking Officer, is going to show you how he does it. But the essential trick is that if you have a URL with file:// in it, it confuses the system. And this will work on Windows systems, Mac systems, Linux systems, anything that's connected to a Windows network, and have them accidentally connect over the internet even when they shouldn't be. There are ways to fight it, including there's even a patch for this, but it's an optional patch, and I've never seen anyone ever have the patch applied. But I've written more about it. I've got some HTTPS links here. You can watch the video as well that will tell you all the defenses you can do. But let's go into Kevin's video. It's a pretty cool thing to see, to watch him do. It's a pretty quick video. He's just essentially going to open an email and show you how he captures the hash and then cracks it. So let's take a look.
This is the attacker system in the cloud, in the Amazon cloud in Virginia. And we have, I'm logged into Outlook 365 here. I'm simply just going to click on the email. I just clicked. It takes a second for Office 365 to load. And here we go. We could see that the email's from Roger Grimes at nsa.gov, which is quite interesting. And there's nothing there. There's no hyperlink to click on. There's no attachment. But if we go over to the attacker system over here in the cloud, we were able to intercept or obtain the victim's NTLM v2 hash. So let's go ahead and try to do this. So we're going to go ahead and highlight this. We're going to copy it. We're going to go over to our password cracker over here. We're going to create a file. Here we go. We're going to paste in the hash. Very simple. And then what I'm going to do is just run a shell script that tries to crack the hash through a dictionary attack. And this is using a tool called Local Hashcat. And guess what? It's already cracked the hash. So if we scroll up here, we see it was a user named Kevin, right? And the password to the hash is Kevin123.
So, I mean, that's pretty amazing if you've never seen anything like that before. Again, Kevin sent an email to the quote-unquote victim. They opened up the email, and although Kevin's demo shows you just opening up the email, in every instance I've ever tried this trick, the person has to be tricked into clicking on the URL, and when they click on the URL, it transmits this password, Windows NT, called Integrated Authentication Password Challenge Response Session to the remote server, and then he's able to capture the NT hash from that and crack that with a password cracking system. It's pretty amazing. I can send you an email, and all you did was click on a link, and I end up with your Windows password. That's a pretty wild thing. The next attack, the one that Kevin just did, was fairly rare. I've never seen it. So rare, I've never seen it in the real world. It's just more of a demo to show you what can be done. But this next type of attack, password sprays, is done in the real world all the time. It's one of the most popular types of attacks. But essentially, the attacker takes a whole bunch of login accounts of an organization and only guesses a couple of passwords against each account slowly over time. It's also called credential stuffing. The traditional password attack is that an attacker will focus on one account and try a million different passwords. But this is kind of the opposite. The attacker gets all the logon accounts that they can of an organization. They find an online portal to guess against, and then they guess only a couple of passwords, or maybe 1,000 passwords, but over a really long period of time so they don't kick off the account lockout. And you can never lock out the true Windows administrator account, but all they really need is a logon portal they can guess against, a whole bunch of login names, a password file, and a tool that can do it. And it's very, very popular. Acme said that they saw over 61 billion credential stuffing attacks in 18 months alone. 61 billion credential stuffing attacks. So it is like one of the most popular types of attacks out there. When Citrix got broken into last year, the FBI told Citrix the hackers likely got in using a technique called password spraying. Many organizations compromised this way. Again, the first step is that the attacker has to find out as many login names as they can. They can use a bunch of different tools, and especially a bunch of what's called open source intelligence tools to get that information. There's a bunch of them out there, but ReconNG is probably among the most famous or the most popularly used, because you can actually look up, you can put a name like knowbefore.com and tell that tool bring out all the login accounts that are in password dump files. So a lot of times people's login names and email accounts are in password dump files on the internet that are all over the internet, but those passwords are aged or old, but the logon accounts themselves, the login label, the identity is good. They just have to guess using different types of passwords. So step one for an attacker for this type of attack is to find a bunch of login accounts for a particular organization that they want to target. Step two, they have to find an online, unprotected online portal to guess against. It could be like Outlook for web access. It could be Office 365. It could be Gmail. It could be a Cisco VPN connection. It could be, an Active Directory Federated Services login. But they have to find some unprotected online portal that doesn't require multi-factor authentication. They can also guess against any internet-exposed application programming interface. 75% of the password spray attacks actually aren't against logon portals. They're against API interfaces. And that's because API interfaces for different companies are often exposed to the internet, and they will allow logins, but they never require multi-factor authentication, because you can't programmatically enable multi-factor authentication, or not easily, and certainly not most. So that's a very, very common method as well with these spray attacks. Step three is the attacker has to have some type of common password list. They exist all over the internet in all sorts of forms. You can download your favorite password list anywhere you want to. There's some examples there. Then you download a password spray tool. There's dozens of them, including probably the most common password spray tool is known as Spray, or Spray shell script in Linux. And then you just fire it off against the target and see whether you log in or not. These are real screen captures that I found on the internet of different, I think they're white hat hackers guessing against different organizations, and you can see where they're being successful. Like in the first example there, anything that's a 4371 is a successful password guess. In the second example, you can actually see what that there's a person they guessed that they had the password named Princess. And the trick is they try to guess very slowly. They're slow, wide attacks. They don't usually set off the security information services. They could. You could tell your security information service to look for these sort of attacks, but most people don't look for them. They're looking for a person's guessing 1,000,000 times against one account, but not that they're guessing a couple of times every 15 minutes against 1,000 different accounts. So you want to make sure your security information event log alerting service looks for like a really great number of bad logon attempts across a whole bunch of accounts. That's the way you need to look at this. So you may want to check with your security defenses to see if they can detect these password spray credential stuffing accounts. Pretty wild. This is another type of method where most of the popular email services like Gmail and Office 365 and Yahoo and all the like, they allow you to recover your, you can say that, oh, I lost my MFA or I lost my password, and you can have them send you a PIN, an SMS or something like that, or to an alternate email account. and recover that account and get on in if you've forgotten your password or lost your MFA device or something. And this particular method I'm going to show you is where a hacker fakes being technical support on SMS on the phone, and then resets the victim's account so they get the code and they ask what that number is. So here's a good example here. Hacker sends a text message pretending to be from a particular email provider asking you for your forthcoming SMS PIN reset code. So here's a big message, from Google Security, we have detected a rogue sign-in to your goodguy@gmail account. In order to determine a legitimate login, we're going to send you a verification code to your previously registered phone number from another Google support number. Please retype this sent verification code in response to this message, or your account will be permanently locked. You have to put that permanently locked part to tell them all their pictures will go away forever. You got to give them a stressor event. But anyways, you're telling them, hey, I'm going to send you a code to make sure you are who you say you are. Then the hacker, in this case, let's say with Gmail, would go to Google and gmail.com. They know the victim's email address. They click on the, hey, I forgot my password. Google's real nice, goes, hey, you want to try your last password? Say no, and then it will give you up to 4 different ways to recover that account. And this is the hacker. The hacker gets to pick, and the hacker's like, oh, I want you to send a verification code to my previously registered phone number. Then the victim gets that code. That is from the real Google account. They then type that in response to the, to that email, to the original SMS message, which is from a fake Google support person, and that person uses the number to take it over. This is very popular. See it all the time. It even happens a lot with voice calls where people call you, hey, we're from your bank, and we noticed that you bought 2 tickets from Dallas, Texas to Korea. Did you buy that, Mr. Grimes? No, you didn't. We didn't think you did, and we want you to know that we stopped those 2 ticket purchases, but there's another $30,000 of charges that look suspicious. We just need to confirm that they're not your charges, and we will happily reverse this and send you a new card. First, we have to verify you are who you say you are, Mr. Grimes. What's your login name? What's your password? Okay, and we're going to send you a PIN, and we need you to tell us the exact PIN that we send you so we know you are who you say you are. And when you give them the PIN, boom, they really take over your account. That happens literally thousands of times a day. And the trick is that you really don't know, with SMS and even phone calls, is the person on the other end of the line who they really say they are. So you have to be careful with those sorts of things. Just the defense here is just realize these trick recoveries. You don't know where SMS or phone calls are really coming from. You can't trust it. And the last example I'm going to give you is called a rogue form. This works with many of the most popular email systems. Works with Microsoft Outlook and Exchange. It works with Apple Mail. It works with Thunderbird. It works with Linux. But in most of these email clients like Outlook, you can actually create these rules or forms. And the rules and forms, they're intended so you can automate your life in email, where you can say, hey, if this email is coming in from my boss, I want you to highlight it. If it's coming in from my mother, I want you to put it in this folder. So there's all this automation that you can do in different email clients, and you can bad guys can use that automation against you. Well, this particular attack, this is a white hat hacker tool called from SensePost called Ruler, but Empire PowerShell is probably one of the first hacker tools, and that's another quote unquote white hat hacker tool. But it's been very popular over the last couple of years. But essentially, if I have your email address and password, so I fish you out of your email address and password, I can remotely install a new form or rule that then executes malicious code. And again, I'm going to show you this demo with the SensePost Ruler tool. You'll see how it happens. What's going to happen is they're going to create a rogue form on an email client, remote email client, that they then trigger by sending another email that requests that form, that then automates malicious code that opens up a Empire PowerShell reverse shell to the hacker's computer. It's a pretty cool demo to see. You should watch it. SensePost has a couple other great demos, but it's wild. All they have is the email address and password, and you can't block it with firewall. Pretty cool to see. So I'm going to show you this. I'll talk to you why it's going. It happens pretty quickly. But here we go. It goes kind of quick at the top. They have an Empire, or they have a SensePost Ruler tool. They're checking the version number. Now this is the victim client in Outlook. They're showing you that they don't have any rules or forms right now. It's all blank. On the right side of the screen, they have Process Explorer by Microsoft showing you what's running. And at the first Ruler tool that they run at the top, they're showing you the email address of the person, and the form is going to be called display. They're just checking to see that using the password they put in, they could connect to that email client at the bottom. It's Empire PowerShell. PowerShell listening agent. They're showing you there's no agents yet. At the top, they're going to have Empire PowerShell reverse shell. They're going to obfuscate it so it can't be found by antivirus. And now they're going to kick off their attack. So they're connecting to the email victims, adding a form called demo, and they're including in that form the Empire PowerShell reverse shell. Here it is. The tool's now connecting to that Outlook client. It's creating that malicious form, and then it's going to kick off that form by sending an email that, when the email is opened or looked at, kicks off the Empire reverse shell. So now they're going to the client. You'll see the email arrive. And again, on the right side of the screen, it's Process Explorer, Sysinternals Process Explorer. You'll see a command shell. There's the fake email, and boom. Now see that conhost.exe? That's a PowerShell, Empire PowerShell reverse shell opening up a listening agent to the hacker's computer. So again, all they did was, and now they're on that victim's computer with complete control of that system. All they did was have the email address and password, kick off the sense post ruler tool to inject a malicious form and activate it, so it opened up a reverse Empire reverse command com shell back to the hacker's server. Pretty wild, huh? So pretty wild. So that's kind of the end of my 4 types of email attacks. I think you'll agree they're all kind of interesting. Key takeaways to remember that email has long been a common attack vector. Not all attacks have technical defenses, like these rogue rules and forms. There's no antivirus that's going to tell you that you have a rogue rule or form or rule, and you just have to check for your rules and forms and make sure that they're all legitimate. And just train your employees to be aware that email can be used against them in all the different ways it can be. And some of the stuff is a little bit more sophisticated than phishing. But also, if you're interested in more information, please come to our resources page at noble4.com/resources. We have a lot of really cool security tools, like if you want to find out if your password's out on the internet, a lot of cool webinars on there. As a matter of fact, a longer version of even this, we've got 10 ways I can hack you via email. It has some other cool methods. Have some ebooks like the 12 ways to hack two-factor authentication. And also the 2020 ransomware hostage rescue manual that I worked on to help you with today's ransomware, which is getting more and more vicious. But again, the password exposure test tool, that's a really great tool to download. It will look for your passwords out on the internet to see if they're out on the internet in the dark web, and if they are, they'll report and let you know. It's a pretty cool tool to run. And lastly, if you have any other questions about this talk or any questions, feel free to email me at rogerg@noble4.com, and I promise I'll respond to your question within 24 hours. And thanks a lot for putting up with me and my very fast talking, and fight the good fight.
I love that. Man, Roger, you can go at such a clip, and the amount of information that you pack into all of your presentations is just incredible. I did post a link to that resource page if anyone wants to kind of go take a look right away. I highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time exploring those resources. Now, we have a poll up on the screen for you here, and what we're wondering is what additional information you would like to get about the Know-Before solution. So take a minute now and click on that poll. Let Know-Before know how they can follow up with you, because, you know, there's, as Roger just said, he fit a lot of information, and it is pretty wild. So it's important to take a little bit of time to dig in a bit further. Click on the poll now and let Know-Before send you some information. I'm also going to highly recommend that you head on over to the Handouts tab. You can sign up to get your free email exposure check report. Basically, this will let you know how many of your users' credentials have been compromised. Obviously, an incredibly useful information and insight, so please do click and sign up for that now. I see lots of questions great coming in. I love that. We've got the Know-Before team here on live chat, so you'll get some answers right now. They will also follow up with you after we wrap. So lots of information coming your way, but we are going to keep things moving along right now because it is time for our first prize giveaway. I do want to remind you all that you do need to be here live present at the summit in order to win. So we're going to start with a $300 Amazon gift card, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll throw in a little grand prize as well. So our first $300 Amazon gift card is going to Andrew Bryce of New Jersey. Andrew Bryce of New Jersey, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And then we're going to get a little spicy. Let's give away one of our grand prizes here. We will do 3 of the Apple HomePods. So 3 Apple HomePods. One of them going to Tracy Downing of Oklahoma, Zach Ronald of Massachusetts, and our third going to Venkat Kindi of Virginia. Venkat, that's a familiar name. So glad to see you on our prize list here. All right, so Tracy Downing of Oklahoma, Zach Ronald of Massachusetts, and Venkat Kindi of Virginia, you have all won an Apple HomePod. And again, Andrew Bryce winning that $300 Amazon gift card. We will be following up with all of you after we wrap the summit today. Now, don't forget, there's still lots more chances to win, plus that best question card coming in from each session. And again, we're reviewing all of that after we wrap. So you will get a chance. Everyone has a chance to win that. As long as you're getting those questions in, get them in, folks. All right, well, jumping into our next presentation on the summit today, I am so excited to introduce you all to this expert presenter because we are in for a treat. Up next, we will be chatting with Justin McCarthy, co-founder and CTO of StrongDM. Justin, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know you have a ton of great information to cover with us. I can't wait to dive in. So the platform is all yours. Take it away, Justin.
Hello, I'm Justin McCarthy, co-founder and CTO of StrongDM. Today, we're going to discuss a fresh take on a very familiar topic, privileged access management, credentials, and identity. It's 2023, and we've now had traditional PAM products for 25 years. We've had public clouds for over 15 years. And we've had great SSO options for over a decade. Zero Trust itself was defined more than 12 years ago. Yet users still struggle to access their workloads in a timely manner. Administrators are overwhelmed with error-prone manual tasks, and that single pane of glass still feels out of reach. Today, I'm going to share how one profound change will transform your team's relationship to privileged access. Don't manage your credentials, just delete them. Every time I meet a new security or IAM leader, I ask a few simple questions, but I've yet to hear a simple answer. Something as basic as, who has access to this server right now, can be hopelessly difficult to answer. Identity providers and SSOs can provide part of the answer and are great for your web-based workloads, but they don't help with your infrastructure. Traditional PAM products can help a small group of administrators share passwords more safely, but don't have the intuitive user experience necessary for a broader audience. Finally, Zero Trust solutions are a great way to reduce your use of traditional VPNs, but struggle to convey identity to the systems that need it. So who's happy with the status quo? It's not end users. They feel confused, constrained, and patronized. Administrators aren't feeling great. They're trying to balance a team's productivity with potential risks to the business and don't have great tools to do so. And the sheer volume of permissions and entitlements means your security engineers and auditors also need to be part-time data scientists. Finally, quantifying how much access is out there can be so difficult that most don't try. Let's see if we can improve this story with a new approach to privileged access. We're going to begin with that end user on their workstation, clicking on the StrongDM icon. What you'll notice is that we're logged in, we're authenticated, and we have no resources that are granted and available for us to use. That's because in this particular scenario, we are in a low or zero standing permission configuration. So it's up to the user to begin the process of asking for access to any of the resources they might need to perform their task or perform their job that day. Let's jump over to Slack, where we're going to fulfill some of these requests. So the first command we're going to issue is Show available resources. You can see here that we've been given a listing of available resources of various technology types, and you can notice that some of these are configured to automatically approve, whereas others will require administrative intervention to approve depending on how the workflow is configured. Let's go ahead and request access to one of these Postgres databases right here. Because this is configured to auto-approve, in my StrongDM client, I now have access to the staging Postgres read-only instance. As that end user, I can now interact with that instance using my tool of choice. So I might use Tableau or Excel or any other data access tool that can speak to a database. In this case, I used no credential, I used no password, no username. The only authentication that occurred was actually at the beginning of my session to log into the StrongDM client. Let's continue with an example of an SSH interaction. So in this case, I'm going to request access to another server by name here. Okay, and then I'm going to use that same name over here on the command line to initiate a session with that machine. So as you can see, this is a totally natural interaction. This felt exactly like every other SSH session out there. Type SSH, the name of the system. The only difference is underneath, the user is not responsible for managing keys, not responsible for managing passwords, or even understanding the network path between their workstation and the target system. Let's do one more resource type. I'm going to ask for access to this Windows Remote Desktop connection here. And I'm going to verify in my StrongDM desktop client that I do see this instance has come through. Now let's use the Windows Remote Desktop client to connect. Okay, great. And we can just disconnect here. What I've just illustrated is three very different types of access that your team members need to perform all day long, every day, that are facilitated in a zero standing or low standing permission environment through request for escalation that in this case is facilitated via chat-ups. And as you can see, from the point of view of the end user, it could not be easier. Let's transition over to the administrator's point of view. In terms of what the administrator sees, beginning with the activities audit log, you can see all of the actions we performed via the chat-ups bot are registered here in the activity audit log. If we narrow in on that user, we can note that they have temporary access expiring in about an hour. And if we were to take a moment to go back to the user's system, you'll note that I have two interactive sessions here, one database interaction, one SSH interaction. Let's go ahead and revoke the database. You can see that the client has been disconnected here. Let's do the same for SSH. And that SSH connection is now terminated. So in addition to understanding what's out there, in addition to understanding what activities have occurred in the system, the administrator also has very direct, precise control over the current activity in the system. Let's talk a little bit about how your identity provider integrates and supports this proxied, credential-less, privileged access. What you can see here is that our demo user currently has no roles assigned in the system. And as a result, on their desktop, again, no resources. We've terminated all of the temporary access that we acquired via ChatOps. Let's transition over to Okta and see how we can add groups in Okta and have those reflected through to StrongDM. On the right-hand side of my screen, I'm going to initiate adding the Okta Minimal group. You can see that immediately that Okta Minimal group is reflected as a role within StrongDM. Now that role has a particular set of entitlements that are a function of resource tags, resource names, really anything that you can use to describe a set of resources that you are entitled to when you have the minimal role in this case. On the workstation, that now corresponds to these three resources. Let's add one more role from Okta. Okay. We now have two roles that are inherited from two groups within my identity provider. In terms of the entitlements that yields for the end user, you can see we now have 10 resources spanning many different technology types, all of which can be accessed with a single click. Let's delve a little bit deeper into logging and auditing. So as we already mentioned, all of the activities in the system are going to be visible here and can be exported in the common formats you would expect. Going even deeper, however, you can see that within the StrongDM audit system, we're capable of seeing inside what the proxy is seeing, and therefore we can log the exact query that a user ran, including how many rows were returned and how long that query took the system to execute. In the case of SSH connections, we can reproduce all of the text that occurred within a session, including all the timestamps for each keystroke. Continuing down to other protocol types, we can report on all the API calls and command line commands that were used to interact with your Kubernetes cluster. Same thing for all of your public clouds. Web applications are no problem. And finally, Windows remote desktop connections themselves are entirely replayable through the StrongDM UI. Let's talk for a moment about how StrongDM relates to your existing vaults and secret stores. By configuring an external vault, you allow the proxy to access secrets on behalf of users. Therefore, your end users never have to learn the details of a particular vault implementation. You also don't have to provision accounts on those vaults for those users. The identity and authorizations originating with your identity provider are conferred automatically to the proxy that, together with the underlying vault, create a secure, audited session to the target systems. Thanks for taking a look at the demo. Dynamic access management is a new concept that drives security outcomes by continuous verification and validation of identity, authorization, and observability. Once someone is authenticated, we ensure that authorizations stay up to date in real time, driving change in behavior or access dynamically. We then drive intelligence around how, why, and when people are using infrastructure, and deliver that back to the CISO and technology leaders to map against business objectives. Thanks again for your attention on the Best Damn platform.
Justin, I like that little pun. Thank you so much, Justin, for that awesome presentation. And the demo, I know the audience was really appreciating kind of seeing that in action there. Now, before we get into our usual follow-up question for you, the StrongDM team actually has a special question for you all. And what we're wondering is, what is your biggest challenge with privileged access today? What is your biggest challenge with privileged access. And the options they've given you are over-provisioning, zombie credentials, credential exposure, lack of audit trail, or hey, all of the above. And I hope that isn't the case for you. But you know what? Actually, as I'm looking at the results, that is the case for a lot of you. Over half of you are saying all of the above. That's your biggest challenge with privileged access today. So I guess that means, well, this is something that's worth putting a little time and effort into, which is going to lead us into our next poll, which I'll put up in just a second. I'm just giving you a few seconds here to click on the one that's up on your screen. But the next thing I'm going to ask you is what additional information you want to get from StrongDM. And this is going to be such a great way to make sure that if some of these things are on your stress list, your worry list, your challenge list, that is a great way to make sure that you can get those follow-ups from StrongDM and make sure you get the answers, the solutions that you need. Okay, so I'm going to put that poll up for you all. Here you are. Okay, so what we're wondering is what additional information you would like to get about the StrongDM solution. So if you can take a minute now and fill that out. And again, this is your future self is going to thank you for this, my friends, because you're hitting the easy button and making sure that you get all the information that you need. So do take a second now and fill that out. Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'm also going to remind you to head on over to the Handouts tab. There's a nice, easy link to book your free demo with StrongDM. So as we were just talking about, and I saw a few of you, your comments coming in saying, love this, Jaideep. I know you were saying how much you love seeing the demos, and I do too. I'm with you. This is the best way to kind of get to know a solution. We talked about this with the Oracle a little bit earlier. This is a theme today. So head on over to the Handouts tab. And you can actually click right there on the StrongDM link and sign up to get your demo booked. So I would highly recommend that you all get that scheduled in. Do it today while you're thinking of it. Just schedule it in, and then you can have that waiting for you. You can have that already scheduled. Take that off your to-do list and spend a little bit more time with StrongDM. All right, so while you're clicking on that and getting your demos booked, while you're filling out the poll, I'm going to go ahead and give away another prize. So we're going to give away a $300 Amazon gift card this time. I will remind you again that you do need to be here present live with us at the summit in order to win. Our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Chandra Thames. Thames or Thames? Chandra Thames of Mississippi. Congratulations to Chandra on your gift card. As always, we will follow up with you after we wrap the summit today. Now, I want to remind you all that there's still a few more chances to win a prize plus that best question card from each session. So get those questions in. And we're going to kind of keep things moving along here, but I do want to remind you that the StrongDM team is here on live chat, so you are getting answers back in real time to your questions. So please do send them in, and anything that doesn't get answered today, we will make sure that you get a follow-up. All right, well, let's keep moving right along in our summit today. I'm very excited to introduce you all to our next expert presenter and a familiar voice here on the summit and a team that I think you're all familiar with as well. We're going to be chatting with Kim Lambert, Principal Product Marketing Manager at Rubrik. Kim, thank you so much for being back here with us again today on the summit. The platform is all yours. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Yes, hi, I'm Kim Lambert. I am a product evangelist for cloud data security at Rubrik, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. So at Rubrik, I'm really focused on the ability we have as a data security company to ensure recoverability of your data in the cloud as a critical component of your overall IT security strategy. And I am joined today by Joe Kelly, a cloud solutions architect, and Joe is a 20-plus year veteran in the information technology space. Joe brings expertise in automation, cloud architectures, and cloud design. And Joe has a lot of experience designing virtualization and storage solutions for customers with hybrid cloud, as well as implementing cybersecurity best practices. So Joe here is on hand as my technical expert to give you an in-depth demo of several things that you won't want to miss. A look at Rubrik Cloud Native Protection, where he'll be focusing in on Azure as an example, although we offer protection across clouds. And he'll also show you Microsoft 365 protection. Okay, so today I want you to walk away from this session with Joe and me really understanding how to enable rapid data recovery from cyber attack or even inadvertent data deletion. And I want you to see why third-party protection for your Microsoft Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams data in Microsoft 365 is actually really non-negotiable. And then I also want you to see what an automated unified approach to data center, enterprise cloud, and SaaS security can really do for your cyber resilience as an organization. So let me start out by explaining Rubrik has built a zero trust data security platform called Rubrik Security Cloud from the ground up to help customers around the world recover from cyber attacks, the actions of malicious insiders, and of course, operational disruptions so that you can really keep your business running. So your data across IaaS, PaaS, SaaS can be resilient. It can always be under a watchful eye where you can proactively monitor risks with powerful data observability capabilities like sensitive data discovery. And of course, that you can easily recover that data at a moment's notice. And to be able to offer this in a way that helps so many of our joint customers especially, you should know that Rubrik has partnered up with Microsoft for a combined zero trust approach to data security. So off the bat, you know that we're serious about helping customers secure their data in the public cloud. Microsoft actually took an equity stake in Rubrik, and we announced that at the end of 2021. And we work really closely with them as a strategic partner. And this partnership, it's been working really well because we have a joint vision to protect our customers from cybersecurity threats to their data. Now, this partnership allows us at Rubrik to really be in an incredibly favorable position in terms of innovation and technical support interlock. And that means some great things for our joint customers. So John Thompson, former chairman of Microsoft, sits on our board. So we're in lockstep starting at the top. We've got access to senior executives at Microsoft. And we work together to be hand in hand better together in the sense that we already manage hundreds of petabytes on Azure. We have over 2,500 joint customers, and we have this technology in place to not only secure your hybrid and your multi-cloud environment, but also give you visibility across the board and especially better secure your Microsoft data. So even though the shared responsibility model is something everyone's been talking about for years and we all know exists, it still applies. Microsoft is an established and invested player at this point, and they've taken a stance on recovery. And they're working with Microsoft as a trusted third-party vendor for backup, which Microsoft even recommends in their documentation as the first step to ransomware recovery. So you can see this here right from the Microsoft documentation. Because whether it's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or SaaS apps, that shared responsibility model for data protection still says the onus lies on you, the customer. And the complexity behind this comes into play, especially when you're operating in a hybrid or multi-cloud environment or at an enormous scale. Now, we all know as your presence in the cloud grows, it can become kind of like this more cloud, more problems scenario with all the breadth of apps and services that you're running and that you're using in the cloud. And we talk about this with a lot of customers, and we find that it hits people in your organization in different ways. So multi-cloud injects complexity and means somebody's left holding the bag for operationalizing backups across VMs, across managed disks, your databases in the cloud. So think about infrastructure ops. They want to be able to successfully back up and quickly restore at the lowest cost. They want to consolidate and simplify infrastructure. Meanwhile, all of the cloud architects, they aren't and they don't want to think about data governance because they want to focus on building fast and developing in the cloud. We talk to modern workplace owners, and of course, they just want their applications up and running. They want their data available with no interruption. Security ops, we talk to them more and more. They need to be able to ensure recoverability during a cyber attack, of course. And then you think about the CIO, they want to be able to prove attack readiness. And that can be really difficult with different reporting structures across the board. And of course, everything is more complex with multiple accounts to manage. And then, within cloud regions, you're needing to protect the data and having to set up all these different components around retention and frequency. And then plus when deploying resources within multiple regions for each account, you're also managing those backups for the different regions then as well. And then think about this, oh, by the way, what about your on-premise environment that needs the same governance and security if you're operating in a hybrid model? This all becomes a lot to manage. It's manual, it's resource intensive, and it doesn't scale. And that's just data protection management. What about data security? What about being able to recover from secure, uncompromised backups? We know that recovery processes can be siloed. And then in a ransomware attack, we find that oftentimes if one cloud is hit, another cloud is hit. And problems may simultaneously be happening in your data center as well. So it's challenging protecting data fragments across these diverse environments in the cloud especially. So native tools, they may work for your AWS environment, but okay, are you also utilizing Microsoft 365? Do you maybe plan to also start building in Azure? All of this is something you need to take into consideration as you scale as a business. Multiple platforms to secure, it also makes it tough to ensure that the right experienced technical resources are in place to effectively not only manage backup jobs, but also be able to rapidly recover from clean data snapshots in the case of ransomware. And we find many customers we talk to have struggled to obtain a holistic view, and they have difficulty even generating the data recovery readiness proof they need, whether it's reports to give to the CIO or the board of directors. But luckily at Rubrik, we help customers prepare for data recovery in the cloud and at enterprise scale. So our cloud approach in essence has 3 tenets. First, we drive automated business resiliency at the point of data with secure backups by creating a data bunker in the cloud. So your backup is logically air-gapped. It's removed from identity boundaries that can be breached. Second, you can get started quickly and it's easy to scale without breaking the bank. You can ensure that your cloud resources are protected as your architects build fast across a fragmented cloud ecosystem. With this software, we're eliminating toil by consolidating data management, simplifying protection with a Rubrik SLA domain policy. And that's simply a set of policies that define at what frequencies backups should be performed of the protected objects within Rubrik, for how long they should be retained, either locally or a replication partner or on the archival location. And with that capability, we really drastically reduce the amount of operational impact that it has on your team, especially if you have resources that have to spend valuable cycles doing Azure, doing AWS, GCP protection. And we've even got cloud tiering features to optimize storage costs too. So you can manage everything through a single UI, all this data across your clouds and on-prem. So rather than managing silos of management points, deploying all these different resources, we consolidate it, we give you one point of view for all of it. And this gives you a really defined baseline backup across all your resources. So cloud, data center, and you can have that fast recovery when you need it. So when you're deploying cloud protection, and even if you're coupling that with on-prem appliances or software delivered globally, that central management plane for data resilience, for observability, for recovery can really help you drive compliance and security. You can even assess potential PII, HIPAA, or other classified data exfiltration risk with tooling we have like sensitive data discovery within Security Cloud for data and workloads like Microsoft 365, and also fast track reporting across IaaS and PaaS as well. And these services we offer encompass 3 main functions. So first, Rubrik has the ability to archive to secure storage with the option of a Rubrik managed service, and the service is built on Azure. It's called Rubrik Cloud Vault. And it provides an isolated offsite data archival. And you can also even utilize storage tiering for AWS and for Azure for that lower cost long-term data storage. And it's this capability we utilize in order to provide immutable backups for Azure VMs, for managed disks. And second, we have the ability to launch existing apps in the cloud, so accelerating the move away from on-prem by instantiating VMs and applications. And finally, on the right, we secure cloud-native applications across clouds with protection for EC2, for RDS, and for Azure SQL as well. And this protection even includes Microsoft 365, which for so many businesses has become not only a tier 1 application and critical to business operations, but also now a huge target for attackers. Because while Microsoft offers data governance and availability tools, Rubrik is there for recovery from ransomware or accidental deletion, or long-term retention for everyday instances where you need to recover 60, 90-day-old data that's been lost and that you can't recover within Microsoft 365. So while Microsoft 365 does have the functionality to help you control access, to keep attackers out with compliance tools like retention policies to schedule deletion so you don't keep data longer than you need, in reality, retention hold can be misused in an account takeover to delete data, or data can be deleted by accident when compliance policies maybe aren't well understood. Microsoft also has classification and search tools like litigation hold to help you comply with compliance and e-discovery. But legal hold is not a substitute for backup. It can be costly, it can be time consuming. And that's why we make sure that there's an isolated copy of your data in Azure, but physically separated from your Microsoft 365 data. So you can recover in bulk or use granular 3-step recovery to any destination and easily locate data with real-time global search, auto-scale resources with Azure Kubernetes service to operate at scale. And this is all managed through our SaaS-based Rubrik Security Cloud. And Rubrik Security Cloud offers a real market differentiator to it that I'd be remiss not to talk about. Rubrik actually offers immutability in the cloud to even further protect your backup data with immutable backups for Azure managed disks, for immutable and air-gapped backups for Azure VMs to provide ransomware resiliency for your Azure deployments. Plus, we have air-gapped backups for AWS RDS, for our Amazon Web Services customers, to protect AWS account compromise as well. And added to this is our ability to leverage object lock on AWS S3 to create a worm lock capability there. And of course, immutable backups for Microsoft 365. And immutable and cross-subscription portable backups for Azure SQL to help you protect against rogue admins or ransomware. And this is a big deal for those of you who have or are planning to migrate from on-prem SQL Server, because I do want to mention we offer this point-in-time recoverability for Azure SQL. And the way we do that in the most secure way is by taking database snapshots that are stored in a separate hardened subscription, where we then take worm locks on the uploaded data, and that ensures that it remains immutable. So portability is a big benefit here too for customers, so that your data can be recovered to a different location in the case of compromise, or even if you're just doing dev test in a sandbox environment, that's useful as well. And of course, cost effectiveness as the data is encrypted and compressed by Rubrik. So that's a little bit about Azure SQL protection. Wanted to share that with you. And we'll also give you at the end a resource, which is a great demo video of Rubrik for Azure SQL protection you may want to check out. So how do, protecting all of these workloads, how does all this fit into your whole security strategy? Well, when you think about enterprise, it's really about adding multiple layers of protection to converge in a threat scenario. So perimeter security, network security, endpoint security, and your application security. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when these layers are going to be breached. So no matter how much you've invested in them, it can really happen. For IaaS and PaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, think about the security of PaaS Azure SQL database, for example. So maybe you have moved traditional SQL Server database workloads over, but migrating to the cloud doesn't mean there's enough data security there. So for instance, Microsoft Backup Service has some limited backup functionality for Azure SQL that requires you to go inside each server and create policies inside each. And if a new database comes up, you have to manually go in, you have to set up a policy. And in the meantime, if someone creates a new database, there may be a new hole in your data security. So when you think about the SaaS space, security layers that are part of the traditional defense and depth strategy are actually managed by your SaaS-based platform vendors. So it's part of why you make the switch to SaaS in the first place, where the provider is taking ownership of those security layers. And that can make things easier for you from a security perspective and put security kind of out of your purview. But keep in mind that those layers for enterprise security are different for SaaS. So For SaaS, those layers become identity and authentication layers. And that main entry point into the SaaS-based world is your user credentials, user logins. And that's what threat groups use to gain access. Then you have the Microsoft tools. You've got the native Microsoft 365 tool set there that they provide. But if those layers are breached, admin credentials compromised, that's where Rubrik fits in as this critical part of your defense and in-depth strategy. So Microsoft tools are underneath there. But if those layers are breached, admin credentials compromised, that's where Rubrik fits in as a critical part of your defense in-depth strategy. Microsoft tools are underneath identity and authentication, but if those top layers are breached, you now have that logical, secure air gap between your core data and your backup data protected by Rubrik. So even when security defenses fail, your data is still protected. And this is really security at the point of data. By securing backup data against attack, Rubrik is securing your applications. We're keeping your business running for everyone. All right, so to wrap up, we talked about securing your backups with a secure logical air gap. We talked about achieving that baseline backup across hybrid and multi-cloud, and then unifying your visibility in the process. We really believe we have one of the most elegant data security solutions out there from a cloud perspective, and Rubrik has your back if you need to secure your environment holistically against data loss. We'd love to help talk to you more about achieving your security goals. I've got some other resources for you to check out that we'll share, including that demo video in Azure SQL I referenced earlier, and several more technical white papers as well. Okay, time for questions. Okay. We're thinking about expanding to Azure from AWS and wondering about the pitfalls of multi-cloud security tools. Yeah, sure. Okay, so you started out in Azure, you're adding other cloud environments. We see that a lot where dev teams may be advocating other clouds, maybe GCP or what have you, when maybe you've always been an AWS shop, right? So I'd say just think about all of your IaaS, your SaaS, your PaaS environments. Think about legacy data sets as well. And what our cloud architects at Rubrik recommend is just to make sure that the data security products you consider are feature rich, they're pluggable into all of the elements of your environment, especially your tier zeros, your tier ones. Look for API-driven technology, look for solutions that are mature enough to be able to expand with you as you grow. And we could postulate that Rubrik as a company has made significant investments to make sure we've got data security and data management tooling that is capable, that's feature rich, that's platform native. So if you're protecting Azure VMs with us, you're going to use the same protection policies, the same compliance reports, the same zero trust tools, multi-factor authentication, least privileged RBAC as if you go to protect an M365 workload, as you go to protect a vSphere VM. So it's all the same if you're thinking about moving to AWS. So, and like we talked about with multi-cloud and hybrid cloud complexity, all these platforms and technologies have nuances to how they're implemented, how they're protected, how they're recovered. So it really comes down to ensuring your data is resilient, that you know all your data, that you're seeing it all, you're understanding what's going on with it, and of course, that it's recoverable and that you can prove that to both internal and external stakeholders. So keep all of that in mind when you are expanding to other clouds, of course. All right, how does Rubrik compare to Azure Backup Solution or AWS? Yeah, good question. Our differentiation versus the native tools that cloud vendors provide is really less over individual features, but we are glad to chat with you more about that, get into your particular needs. It really comes down to cloud vendors guarantee data availability, but aren't responsible for data protection. And with Rubrik, the value we provide is unification across your on-prem, across cloud, multi-cloud, and giving you that visibility across a fragmented ecosystem. So with Rubrik, we're giving you the ability to manage the data regardless of where it lives now or where it'll be later on, and the ability to prove that it's recoverable when the worst happens, that your critical data is able to be restored in the case of ransomware, and that it can be restored quickly. So think about this. We work with Microsoft reps every day. Microsoft itself has no recovery SLA. So you can rely on native tools and you might be able to restore your data, but it can take time. Wouldn't it be better to have an actual recovery solution in place where you can meet your business SLAs and know that if you get that call from an executive in your company that their data is missing, that if you get hit by a cyber attack, you have uncompromised data to recover from and to recover from quickly. That it's not going to take weeks to try to recover, where in that time you're going to lose new data being created. Those are the questions that you really have to ask. Okay. Is versioning or recycle bin not effective for O365? Okay, so for Microsoft or Office 365, those are definitely helpful tools that Microsoft provides alongside a lot of other security and compliance tooling. But think about this, despite using Microsoft's E5 tools, for example, and despite following Microsoft's security and configuration best practices, hackers are still getting into your environment. Microsoft has world-class security tools. They focus on that perimeter defense to keep ransomware out. They have data loss prevention for analytics on risky behavior. They have sensitive data discovery and SLAs around uptime and application availability. And they provide a governance bucket of tools like retention policies, like recycle bin, like versioning. The problem here is these tools can be used against you in these attacks where global admin is compromised. So tools too, like litigation hold, and we talked about that earlier, preservation lock are also an option. The challenge here again is recovery time. So in our own testing, we've seen it's taken multiple days to get 50 gigs of data back. So how would you do that for hundreds, for thousands of users in your organization and do that fast? When data is lost, you really need a solution like Rubrik in place to recover it at scale. Okay, what makes the data immutable exactly? Yeah, so I'll explain it for cloud native with an example. So take Azure VMs and managed disks, for instance. To make sure that the data is immutable, that it can't be modified or deleted, the capability is actually instituted via storage tiering functionality to give it both security and then also cost optimization benefits at the same time. So we take the data from your production subscription where there are VMs, and you can configure it to move the data then to a storage subscription. It's not only an air gap security approach then, but one that utilizes the additional security of a worm lock. So for example, if you need a retention time period for the data of 60 days, we put a time-based lock on that data for 14 days, then another 14 days, and so on. And this is done automatically as a continuously extended worm lock. So in this way, by taking advantage of the economics of storage tiering, your data is also immutable then by default.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kim. That is some great information. Thank you for the presentation and for sticking around to answer some questions coming in from the audience. There are still lots more questions, and so I do know for everyone out there that we did not get to all of the questions that were asked. And we will make sure, I think Kim and the Rubrik team are going to hang out and answer some questions on live chat. We'll also make sure that we get them to the Rubrik team. So keep those questions coming in. Now, I've also put up a couple of links that Kim wanted to share with all of you. So these are all clickable, so you can click on these right now and open them and make sure you save them for later. These are great follow-ups from the conversation that we just had with Kim. And I'm also going to remind you that you can head on over to the handouts tab to get, and it's also linked on the screen here, so you've got all the possible ways to access this resource because it's a good one. You can get the Rubrik white paper, Rubrik Zero Trust for Microsoft Environment. So explore the Rubrik Zero Trust data management platform. Now, this is going to be both data management and cyber resiliency in one platform, which is really cool. So that's incorporating the NIST, Zero Trust cybersecurity principles and thinking about protecting applications as well as user data, while also providing reliable recovery in the event of an attack. So obviously, all the important things there in one go. So do make sure that you grab that white paper to read a little bit more, as well as opening those links to kind of save those for a little bit later. All right, well, that was a lot of cool information all in one presentation, and I'm going to now put up a poll, because what we're wondering about is what additional information you would like to get about the rubric solution. So think ahead to you in 24 hours when you're remembering back and thinking, man, Kim told us some really cool stuff, but I can't remember all of it. And you are going to wish that you had pre-signed up for some information, pre-registered to get the things that your future self will thank you for. So please do take a moment now and click on that data sheet, white paper, case studies, all the things that we were talking about with the Oracle this morning, all the useful things there, customer success stories and demos, are very, very helpful. So if you are still in that research phase, this is something that you're really going to want to take a little bit of time. Click on the poll and ask Rubric to send you some information so that you can have that when you need it. And while you're doing that, I am going to go ahead and give away a few more prizes. That's right, I said few. We're going to do both a gift card and a little bit of a grand prize. So we've got some fun coming our way. All right, so I'm going to remind you again that you do need to be here live, present at the summit in order to win. And our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Denise Millette of Mississippi. Denise Millette of Mississippi, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. Congratulations. And I am next going to give away 3 M2 Mac Minis. 3 M2 Mac Minis. So this is going to go to Alexander Lynn of Utah. That's Alexander Lynn of Utah. Second one going to Zachary Ventola of New Jersey. Congrats to Zachary Ventola of New Jersey. And then our third and final winner of M2 Mac Mini is Jeff Zolatar of California. Jeff Zolatar of California. So congrats to Denise, Alexander, Zachary, and Jeff on all your various prizes. As always, we will be in touch about claiming those after we wrap. Now, don't worry if you're feeling sad about not winning a prize yet. There are still chances to win. And hey, aren't we all winners here today? All this great content, great presentations. You know, I'm feeling full of sunshine today, folks. I hope you are too. All right, so we've got more chances to win, plus that best question card coming at you from each of the sessions. So keep those questions coming in. I am seeing some great questions coming in. Mike says he's going to be getting his own Oracle at home. That's probably a good call. I think I asked our team if anyone needs help making major life decisions, because we have a 57% accuracy future predicting Oracle that we can use for them. So if anyone else has some life decisions they need a little help with. And Charvel is saying, indeed, it's a nice sunny day in Montreal. I'm glad you're feeling sunshiny as well there. All right, well, we're going to keep things rolling here and jump into our next presentation. So up next, and as you can see, I'm very excited about this one. I love anytime we get to chat with Forrester Research. That's a good day. And on top of it, extra icing on that already awesome cake, we get to talk to Red Hat as well. So I'm very excited to introduce our next two awesome experts from two extremely innovative teams. So we're going to be chatting with Trey Seck, VP Global Customer Success and Renewals at Red Hat, and then their special guest, Sam Conway, Principal Consultant, Total Economic Impact Practice from Forrester Research. Sam and Trey, thank you both so much for being here with us today. I know you've got some awesome content lined up for us. So Trey, I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Trey Seck, and I am the Vice President of Red Hat's Global Customer Success Function. And we've also got a guest speaker from Forrester joining us today, Sam Conway.
Hi, Trey. My name is Sam Conway. I'm a principal consultant here on Forrester's TEI team, helping organizations quantify and articulate the business value of their services and solutions. So just a quick agenda for today. We are going to start with an explanation of the TI methodology, and then we'll dig a little bit more into the customer stories and detailed results from the study we conducted with. But before I get to that presentation, I just want to ensure the audience is aware of the following disclosures here. All right, so what is TI? TI goes beyond TCO and ROI to understand the total business value a service or solution provides an organization. We do this by looking at traditional metrics like cost savings, user efficiency, and business effectiveness, but we weight it based on risk, scalability, and flexibility. This brings us to the core components of the TI methodology. So first we have the benefits, which are the business advantages and organization gains by implementing a service or solution. Then we have the costs, which can be direct, such as fees paid for a service or solution, and indirect, such as internal costs for training or implementation. We also try when possible to measure what we call flexibility, and this is not explicitly what customers are currently experiencing, but the possibilities that they unlock in the future by making an investment today. Finally, we risk adjust all these categories to create a conservative and realistic view of what a potential customer may experience. And together, these elements combined make up what we call the total economic impact. So Forrester's approach to evaluating the impact of Red Hat services solutions for OpenShift took a multi-stage approach. We started with our due diligence, which was harnessing the knowledge of Forrester's analysts and research to understand the product market, as well as interviewing key stakeholders at Red Hat to understand the broader product strategy and vision. We then did data collection. So this was interviewing 6 Red Hat customers to understand their use cases and outcomes, and surveying an additional 163 IT decision makers using Red Hat OpenShift. We created a composite organization based on that information, which represents the typical or average experience of customers we interview. And then we create a financial model and case study around the composite organization's deployment. So for the customer interviews, we conducted those 6 customer interviews with the different representatives from organizations. And you can see they spanned a wide range of industries. We had the government agencies, financial services firms, healthcare, global marketing and technology across a number of different geographies. And then in addition to those customer interviews, we surveyed 163 IT decision makers at firms using Red Hat OpenShift. And the respondents, again, came from a variety of industries, geographies, and e-sizes. Trey, I was impressed by the amount of firms that were using Red Hat OpenShift. Can you talk to me a little bit more about your approach to working with so many different customers across different industries?
Sure. I think, really, we're very fortunate, quite frankly, to have the opportunity to work across multiple industries. And it really comes down to flexibility. Our goal as an organization is to become the most widely used platform that customers build their hybrid cloud solutions upon. So, we work, from very, very large enterprise customers to, very small yet fast growing organizations as well. So we're fortunate, and we understand that one size doesn't fit all. So, we've really worked hard to establish a framework and a methodology, and then we often tailor that approach toward obviously the customer's vertical, their domain, and ultimately what they're trying to accomplish with their hybrid cloud solution.
Great. And it's funny, we interviewed and surveyed a number of different organizations, but we did find a very common set of prior challenges amongst them. So while those specific use cases within the organizations varied for the Red Hat services and support, we did find that often they were trying to replace legacy solutions that required intensive maintenance and management. They might have had a lack of common standards and practices across the organization, which led to inefficient practices, or they had ultimately failed internal containerization and modernization projects, either for those reasons listed or others. So I touched on some of those pain points that we heard from our survey respondents and our interviewees. But I'm curious, Trey, are there any other common themes that you've seen, with the customers that you're working with?
That's actually a really good question. I think oftentimes it comes down to start from the beginning. So, the containerization is obviously, an exceptional capability that allows agility, speed and time to market and all of that. But if you don't start from the beginning, it's really difficult to end up with a solution that actually works. So, we have an approach to really understand where a customer is in their journey. We've got a framework that we apply to say, do you have infrastructure as a code, for example? Because if you don't have infrastructure as a code as a capability, it's really difficult to get to a fully functioning, containerized approach within your IT and your development environment. So we really try and focus on, let's start from the beginning and understand where you are.
Great. And, I think that segues nicely into, the objectives that people were trying to solve and why they ultimately landed on Red Hat and OpenShift. So, to remedy those various pain points, the interviewees were looking for solutions that could automate manual application development, automate compliance governance and reporting, bring new ideas to market quickly through faster releases, and to standardize internal tools set and practices within the organization. So as I mentioned before, based on the survey respondents and interviewees, we developed a composite organization for this study. This is for the financial framework, and it's representative of those customers that we interviewed. So for the composite organization, it's a B2B firm with global operations. Prior to working with Red Hat, the organization attempted to undertake containerization efforts with a variety of siloed tools. The organization has an existing portfolio of 500 legacy applications with 50 new applications built annually. 10 to 75% of those new applications are built with containers, and 5 to 50% of the legacy portfolio is modernized annually over the 3-year analysis. Now, based on that composite organization, we made a 3-year financial model, and we quantified 6 different benefit categories. Now, this chart shows the 3-year NPV of those various benefits, and we use a 10% discount rate to calculate the NPV. But as you can see, the organization found savings in planning, design, and documentation. There was infrastructure provisioning time savings, a reduction in initial application development, testing, and deployment time, a savings in application updates, management, and maintenance. There were infrastructure utilization efficiencies recognized by the organization, and also help desk cost savings. And digging a little bit more into those individual benefit categories, so first we had the planning, design, and documentation savings. So the organizations that we spoke to were leveraging Red Hat Consulting to reduce the initial requirements for gathering, planning, designing, and documentation, that phase of the software application lifecycle. And we found that they reduced that by an average of 10 weeks. Amongst the organizations that we surveyed, 87% of respondents said that they agreed or strongly agreed that working with Red Hat Consulting helped their firm modernize applications more quickly than they could have on their own. Additionally, 82% of those respondents said that they agreed or strongly agreed that Red Hat Consulting helped improve collaboration for DevOps software delivery. So some of these organizations have a lot of technical debt, and it can sometimes be hard to even know where to start or what to do with their current application portfolio to realize the results that we've been discussing. What does Red Hat recommend in those types of similar situations?
Good question. Kind of dovetails in with what we talked about earlier, which is start from the beginning. But we've developed a framework, and it's based on something we call the Open Practice Library. So as an enterprise software company with an open source development model, we've used a lot of the principles of open source software development and applied that to building a series of methodologies and frameworks that we use with customers to really deeply understand where they are and acutely understand what their pain points are, but also in the context of what is it actually going to mean for their customers? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish for your customers? Is it cost savings? Is it time to market? Is it, uptime? There's a number of metrics that are used, but we have a practice that we use at the beginning called impact mapping. Sounds pretty simple, but it's really starting from the why. Why are we doing this? Again, what is sort of identifies who the actors are, because what we start to uncover is there's a lot of different actors or individuals or organizations within a customer that have to coexist and operate together to drive that outcome. And then we derive a series of the how, and that the how ultimately becomes how we approach the project and how we break up the units of work. So customers come to us with a multitude of pain points, but we really try and distill that down using our open practice library, things like impact mapping, and start from the beginning with a discovery session, which is a very widely used practice to get people to start talking to each other and understanding the real pain points. So those two practices have become really widely used across our consulting engagements.
And the next benefit we had was the reduction in initial application development, testing, and deployment. So the interviewees said that their organizations worked with Red Hat Consulting to learn and adopt best practices to modernize and streamline application delivery by using Red Hat OpenShift, containers, and microservices. By adopting modern tools and DevOps processes, these organizations broke free of manual processes and aligned stakeholders to accelerate the time to market for applications in their organization's pipelines. The composite organization sees a 15 to 20% improvement in application development and testing due to Red Hat. And over a 3-year period, the present value of this time savings is $12.5 million. The next benefit we have was the application update management and maintenance savings. So the interviewees we spoke with said that their application delivery benefits extended beyond the initial build into the application development life cycles. The adoption of Red Hat OpenShift and partnerships with Red Hat Consulting aided those organizations in accelerating the time to market for new product features, updates, patches, and bug fixes. Harnessing the capability of containers to separate applications into granular microservices, the organizations accelerated release cycles by packaging, testing, and deploying components separately. There are also a number of benefits included in the study that weren't quantified or included in the financial model. And so these included the improved customer and employee satisfaction and improved software quality and reduced vulnerabilities. And I know we've focused a lot on the technology aspect, but Trey, let's focus a little bit on the people aspect here because that's what we just touched on. And we see the improved customer and employee satisfaction. How does Red Hat focus on the people and on the culture?
It's really interesting how we've evolved. As an enterprise software company, we realized pretty early on, particularly with OpenShift, that oftentimes the impediments to success or consumption or utilization of the platform isn't around the technology itself. It's actually around people, process, and culture. And oftentimes we discover with customers that, a simple example, their IT operations team and their app dev team aren't really communicating all that effectively. There's a lot of ways of working that have to change, and we've developed expertise on that. And one of our approaches that works really well is we work alongside with customers. We don't do it for them per se, but we really aspire to work with them and side by side so that there's that handoff and so that we can actually show them a different way of working so that they can go then proliferate that across the organization. So while we spend a reasonable amount of time on the technology, we really focus on how customers can mobilize their teams and effective change management. A lot of it is just executing a really robust change management program across the customer. And when we do that effectively, we start seeing just absolute proliferation of the platform itself and delightful customers and app dev teams who are demanding that they can develop their applications on OpenShift, which is great for the customer and it's great for Red Hat.
Great. And so we wouldn't be able to calculate an ROI without costs. And there was 4 categories of costs for the composite organization. These included the Red Hat fees that the organization incurred, the implementation costs of Red Hat OpenShift, training costs for the firms, and then finally, the costs associated with ongoing operations and administrative costs. And as a refresher, we also have flexibility and risks. So flexibility, once again, is that ability to engage in future initiatives for additional benefits. And for Red Hat services for OpenShift, we found that this included building or refactoring a large portion of your applications and engaging Red Hat OpenShift cloud services for additional savings within a firm. When we were considering risks, the risks factors that we looked at were the existing application dependencies and infrastructure utilization rates within a firm, the size and complexity of the organization's existing infrastructure, the availability of the skill sets within an internal organization, and then finally, the legacy platform state and the related support costs within a firm. So after looking at those benefits and costs, once again, we created a 3-year financial model for the composite organization, and at the net present value using a 10% discount rate, we had an ROI of 703%, an NPV of $39.1 million, and a payback period of just under 6 months for the composite organization.
Awesome. Awesome. Sam, I just want to thank you so much for not only joining us today, but for taking our customers through this analysis and really helping articulate in real terms what value they can potentially derive from working with Red Hat services. So I really appreciate the time today.
My pleasure, Trey. And I would encourage all listeners to go read the report for themselves. There's a nice financial framework where you can put in some of your own numbers to see how this might look for your organization. And there were a couple of benefits that we didn't have time to dig into. So there's additional benefit details within the study itself.
Thanks, Sam. And just in summary here, to our customers, your story is our story. We are absolutely committed to helping you get the most out of your investment, to helping you delight your customers, and continue building great relationships. And as Sam mentioned, I encourage everybody to scan the QR code. There's a wealth of information in the report. You can learn more about the value of Red Hat services and support for OpenShift. And I just want to thank you all for joining, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you so much to both Sam and to Trey for being here for that awesome presentation. It's such a cool report, and it's really fun to actually dig into some of these reports that come out and get a little bit of a story and a context around them. So I'm glad that we got to walk through that with Sam and Trey. And I do want to point out first that we have an additional poll for all of you up on the screen here. What we're looking for is what additional information you would like to get about the Red Hat solutions. We just saw that wonderful Forrester report and really digging into this Red Hat solution. What additional information would you like to get? So there's a few options for you up on the screen, so please do take a minute now and fill that out. And I'm also going to suggest that if you missed that QR code, head on over to the Handouts tab, because you can grab the Forrester Research Report, the total economic impact of Red Hat services and support for OpenShift. So this paper is exploring cost saving and business benefits of operationalizing, especially the use of containers, microservices, and DevOps, really to modernize and streamline application delivery. So this is a really, really cool way to follow up on everything that we just heard Sam kind of talking about. So do take a minute now and go check that out. All right, and while you are filling out the poll, while you are getting that handout, I am going to go ahead and give away a prize, because we have another $300 Amazon gift card. I will remind you again that you do need to be here live, present with us at the summit in order to win. Our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Michael Procton of North Carolina. Michael Procton of North Carolina, congratulations on your gift card. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap the webinar today. And don't forget that there is still another chance to win. All right, well, folks, I don't know how this happens. I feel like I say this every time, and here we are already at our very last presentation of the day. And we are definitely ending on a high note. We have a fantastic grand finale planned for you all, and I know that you will all really enjoy this next presentation because we have a wonderful and familiar face here at the summit. We will be chatting with Anthony Dutra, Technical Marketing Engineer at Zerto. Anthony, thank you so much for being here with us again and being here with us to bring our summit home today. I know you have some exciting content to cover. We also want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away, Anthony.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this presentation for IT Innovators Day. From myself, I'm Anthony Dutra, Technical Marketing Engineer here at Zerto. And I'm really excited today to be sharing with you not only how Zerto helps businesses achieve that uninterrupted status, but how we are continuing to innovate and evolve with the ever-changing landscape of IT and just growing with the newest and latest technologies. So let's take a step back before we begin. Who is Zerto at a high level, and how do we help innovate? Well, we protect, recover, and move data as well as applications using this sort of continuous availability approach. across on-premise, where we were born at the hypervisor base level, but now have expanded and grown into many hybrid and multi-cloud environments. We were established way back when, out in 2009, and happily became part of the HPE family in 2021. And honestly, between those two times, the organization has really just exploded in growth. Over 2,000 partners that we innovate and help integrate our solutions with, 350 plus managed service providers, disaster recovery and other services to organizations to help them either migrate to public cloud solutions or, sort of create that next level disaster recovery solution. And together we're helping serve 9,500 customers in 100 plus countries. And these customers are pretty much big names to small mom and pop shops, where we see a lot of our conversations with are companies like American Airlines. We recently did a presentation and talk with them as to how they leverage Zerto for both migrations as well as sort of DR strategy. So them, as well as NASA, Starbucks, they all sort of take advantage of the technology that Zerto and value that Zerto provides and help innovate their businesses, their DR strategies in order to keep everything online and running. And really, all of these organizations have the same thing in common that Zerto helps solve, is the fact that they're facing these three major challenges. The first is cyber threats in general. It's pretty much every other day we're hearing the fact that there was another ransomware attack, and it's costing businesses money, right? So in order to, have that ability to replicate and revert back from that encryption actually happening is of huge value and is still a way to revert from some of these major threats today. Disruptions, both unplanned, right? A data center goes down from an earthquake, something happens in the cloud, or plan themselves, right? We want to migrate. We have to go down at this time to do the migration. It's a big challenge still for many organizations, and Zerto obviously has an approach to help fix that. And then cloud complexity, right? It's hard to sort of lift and shift into the cloud if you don't know exactly what you're doing, but the trends are showing that everything is moving to the cloud. So how do we sort of break through that complexity? As you can see, it's only getting much more growing of a problem. So their need is for this 24/7 availability with no downtime or data loss when it comes to engaging in these types of projects. So how does Zerto basically ensure that this all happens? Well, with our patented continuous data protection approach, right? So we ensure that you are ransomware resilient, being able to resume from an attack seconds before it actually happened, right? Not even having to pay for the ransom in many cases, and obviously leverage these granular RPOs and RTOs to be much more dynamic when it comes to failing over or even just migrating solutions overall. So obviously clearing the disaster recovery aspect of it with our journal and how we are able to replicate and revert back quite quickly. And then we basically leverage that same replication technology, but from a migration standpoint. So we leverage CDP to literally move applications from on-premise to the cloud or in the Kubernetes space between clouds. Oh, the Zerto difference is still very much what it is, but we continue to innovate on what is our bread and butter. So continuous data protection, I've mentioned the journal, I've mentioned our replication, I mentioned the fact that we, protect applications or migrate applications as a whole. So we are still very much growing and innovating in that space. And, the orchestration, automation, where we're able to integrate with other partner tools and services is growing as well. So that's also what makes us very different. The fact that we're able to orchestrate and automate much of the DR migration process, and then also integrate that with other solutions makes Zerto very dynamic and flexible. Multi-cloud, the fact that we are able to replicate from on-premise to AWS or Azure We're talking cloud native when I'll get into Zerto for Kubernetes when we get to replicate between cloud providers, and now being part of that HPE family, like I mentioned before, integrated in HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery. Again, just adds another layer of cloud dimensionality to the Zerto solution. It's simple to scale, right? A true and tried thing about Zerto, it being software only and everything. So it's very easy to deploy. Really, no matter what flavor of Zerto or where we've innovated into, it's going to be very flexible in terms of what you deploy and how you manage it. And there's always going to be that baseline of analytics and reporting that you can get from the solution. Again, really no matter what it is. So CDP is the name of our game, and really it's that ability to create this automated, consistent, and non-disruption of your applications, whether it's between persistent volumes in Kubernetes clusters, VMs on a data center, instances in a cloud. We're able to provide this always-on replication that's very journal and granular based, right? You can roll back almost like a DVR to a certain point in time in order to ensure that no data loss or downtime to your business. Orchestration and automation is built on top of that CDP, which again makes managing everything very easy and simple to report on, as well as just find basic metrics that are of value back to the business. So finding SLAs within the Zerto analytics tool, how is our RPOs? What does our full, disaster recovery strategy look like on premise, in the cloud, as well as in Kubernetes? We're able to provide all of that through that single dashboard and provide that non-disruptive testing internally, within our tools, again, across all of our solution sets that allow for that automated testing and orchestration of what a failover and failback actually looks like without being disruptive to your production environment. Leveraging the CDP even further, right? As I keep mentioning before, we are able to let customers replicate not only between on-premises, but on-premises into the cloud. They're using this a lot for migrations themselves. So actually creating and replicating from on-premise technologies to cloud-native technologies and adopting them pretty much immediately, as well as doing some things that we'll discuss today, disaster recovery and backup for Kubernetes applications and disaster recovery within cloud itself. So this is really where now Zerto, where we've been industry known for before on-premise and sort of DR to the cloud, we've now expanded and innovated into these different spaces here. So let's start with Zerto for Kubernetes as well as Zerto in cloud for AWS. These are cloud native technologies that is basically giving data protection that is literally built for them. So Zerto for Kubernetes is a Kubernetes-based application, which I'll dive into a little bit more in a few minutes. But we're offering that same level of continuous data protection, CDP, to those K8s-based apps. Whether they're stateful, some stateless components, we're able to replicate and use that journal to ensure that your clusters do not go down. And the same thing for EC2 instances within AWS. We're not having a agent installed on each one of your EC2 instances to do a particular replication. But if you're looking for, which is good, so that you can actually replicate between multiple different regions quite seamlessly. And again, it's leveraging technologies that are actually born in the cloud, in AWS, and using AWS solutions in order to achieve this granular level of data protection. So I mentioned Zerto for Kubernetes. Let's dive into that a little bit overall. Kubernetes is a new animal for a lot of businesses, and really where they're trying to innovate and refactor their applications into in order to build themselves, something much more efficient, something much more responsive to events and load of traffic from users. So what they're seeing is, refactoring these apps, they're able to do so, but while there's high availability built natively into these sort of technologies, DR and data protection isn't. So kind of moving and evolving and innovating into K8 apps is being done so rapidly, but with the same sort of struggles that you'll see on premise, that in the case there's no data protection or recovery overall. So where people are trying to fix this is basically using legacy technologies, maybe snapshots or things that are quite too old to restore the application to a useful point in time to make up for this limited backup and recovery capability. And then what we're also seeing is the fact that there's no application-centric approach. So persistent data is either kept within the application itself, but that also has a ton of things like configs, secrets, deployments that are associated with that persistent volume. And in order for it and the application to come back online to a time valuable to the business, all of that needs to be restored to a very particular point in time together, right, in that sort of application-centric approach. So as you can imagine, Zerto for Kubernetes helps cover all of these bases by offering CDP, DR, as well as some long-term retention capabilities for both stateful and stateless apps running on-premise or in the cloud. We actually cover quite a bit of cloud providers where we're able to replicate to and in between. And we definitely suggest going to the Zerto for Kubernetes sites to learn more about that. But from a data protection standpoint, what it offers from an innovation side of things, it's pretty much what you see here in terms of what Zerto has always delivered. So I talked about CDP being application centric. Just like the other Zerto solutions, we have open and very good APIs to integrate your Z4K with your other maybe monitoring or observability platforms on Kubernetes. And we're able to do so between multiple different cloud providers, right? We're still allowing you to see if you have a cluster running in AWS, the analytics of that on the same screen of your Azure AKS cluster running. And all of that can be seen with your VMs that are being protected with Zerto. So that deep analytics, the ability to simplify management and disaster recovery of a Kubernetes cluster alongside everything else is really how we're innovating within this space. And you heard what I also mentioned previously too, Zerto in cloud for AWS. So what this is DR at scale for Amazon EC2 instances. So if you're really looking to replicate across different regions, have a strategy for multiple availability zones where you might want to replicate in a one-to-many fashion between maybe one AZ to another and then to another region. What Zerto in cloud for AWS allows for is that same level of disaster recovery orchestration, but in the land of EC2. So you're able to failover, test failovers, as I mentioned, one-to-many replication, and just move EC2 instances between these multiple regions or AZs in case something does happen. Again, nothing is agent-based, so it's easily scalable. We're able to replicate thousands of instances pretty much at a time across different AZs and regions, and it's obviously a lot more operational, efficient, and easy to use. Because it's just Zerto. If you're very familiar with the platform itself, it's very much that on top. But we also integrate with services like CloudWatch. So if you are seeing anomalies within CloudWatch itself, you can set something up to trigger Zerto to start replicating between regions and AZs. So it's a very cool tool and one that we're continuing to innovate. It provides all of these many different benefits, pretty much as I spoke about before. Again, important to note, application-centric recovery. You can group EC2 instances together to recover to a very specific point in time together, and we can do so at scale. Super easy and very cool tool that we're evolving. Kind of what it looks like at a high level, right? I keep mentioning the workflows. If you're familiar with Zerto, then Zerto in Cloud for AWS looks exactly like that. And you're able to non-disruptively test, failover, replicate one-to-many between multiple different region sites. All right, now this is what I am really excited for, is our integration of HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery. At a high level, what you do if you are a GreenLake customer, you sign up for GreenLake itself, gain access to the Data Services Cloud Console, or DSCC, and what you will find are two basically tiles that will get you to pretty much backup recovery as a service solution there with HPE GreenLake for backup and recovery. And then what is Zerto on the back end is HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery, which gives that same level of DR and data mobility, but through the GreenLake DSCC console. So where does this fit in from a complete data protection solution? Basically, where we're innovating with this is, hey, you have Zerto on-premise today, you have Zerto for Kubernetes, Zerto in cloud for AWS. All of those solutions allow for that tier 1 to tier 2 mission critical applications to be recovered quite quickly, right? And that sort of operational or disaster recovery. So that's how we're innovating in that respect, is expanding across multiple different technologies, as well as many different platforms, and now being part of the HPE GreenLake platform itself. And then we are offering services more within the backup and long-term retention space. Again, really looking and excited for the HPE backup and recovery service to help fill that gap for a lot of our customers, and as well as the backup for SaaS or Keep It, which allows for DR of backup and DR of SaaS applications, 365, etc. So with Zerto now being part of this GreenLake platform, we're going to be able to do a lot more, and I would highly encourage people to sign up for that private preview there. Okay, well, I think I talked ad nauseum about how Zerto is kind of moving into these new technologies, how we're changing, how we're sort of evolving. If you have any other questions, I'm obviously happy to take them now, but I want to point everybody's direction in how you can sort of experience Zerto for yourself. Reach out to our sales group if you have anything that you have maybe questions about. We have a free edition still for 1 year. You can use the enterprise licenses for 10 virtual machines to do that granular level of replication, or even some migration capabilities from on-premise to another on-premise site to a public cloud, and leverage it there. Or if you're not really ready to sign up for that, I always suggest our hands-on labs. Go and sign up for those. You basically get an environment to test, spin up, and take down as you see fit, where you can use Zerto. It's already fully deployed for you, and you can really get a good fit of what we're innovating and how we're innovating. And I always suggest people go take a look at that. All right. I thank everybody for their time, and I look forward to your questions.
Well, thank you, Anthony, as always, for an awesome presentation. And we definitely do have some questions that we're going to jump into in just a second here. But before we do that, I do want to point out to everyone in the audience here today that we have a poll up on the screen. And what we're wondering is what additional information you would like to get about the Zerto solution. So again, I've said this a few times today. I'm going to remind you that this is you making your life nice and easy. There's lots of great information. There's no way we can cover all of it in these shorter presentations. So click on the poll and let Zerto know what they can send you. Get the information that you want handed right into your email inbox. And then you don't have to do anything. So I promise, in our days being as hectic and crazy as they are, this is a nice little easy button to press. So go ahead and click on that poll. Let Zerto know what additional information you would like to get. While they're doing that, Anthony, you ready to dive into some questions?
Absolutely.
All right. I do want to tell you you're getting a couple of high fives from the audience. I just saw one come in from Brian saying how much he enjoyed that. I think you definitely struck some intellectual chords out there today, Anthony. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Now, I know Nick has been actually answering busily questions on live chat, so some of these questions have gotten answers, but I'm going to repeat this one because I do think it's important for the audience to hear. We did get a few questions coming in wondering about implementation and just how easy that is, and I'm wondering if you can address that for the entire audience for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zerto is super easy to install overall, really depending on if you're looking to do it on-premise or in a public cloud or hybrid cloud environment. You're literally just following a simple installer process in many of our solutions in order to get it up and running. Our Kubernetes version is a little bit different. It's CLI-based, but it's just a simple Helm repo. And you can kind of pull it in easy and work with it as your developers as they see need fit. So super easy to deploy and easy to get going.
Love that. Okay. This is another good one that I want to make sure the entire audience gets to hear. If anyone out there, Charbel was wondering, or Charbel, excuse me, was wondering if you do have to be an existing HPE GreenLake customer.
Nope, you don't. So Zerto is its own standalone DR software. We are extremely happy to be part of the GreenLake portfolio, but you can deploy Zerto today on-premise on your own as a complete separate software.
Perfect. Anthony, what kind of RPOs can customers expect going from on-prem to AWS?
Yes, absolutely. So we typically tend to see anywhere from seconds to minutes of recovery point objectives from on-premise to native cloud AWS. So again, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this within the presentation, but you're actually replicating and becoming part of to the AWS platform within minutes. So very cool, and minutes of RPOs.
Love that. Okay. Can you were getting into the Kubernetes stuff at the end, and we got a couple of questions about the Kubernetes side, so I think that is really interesting for folks. Does Zerto for Kubernetes also support one-to-many replication?
Oh, yes, it does. It supports one-to-many to, as I'm sure I mentioned, multiple public cloud providers. So I know I answered one of the questions. Definitely check out the answers to see which ones we support.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, there are some really good research, and I'm just going to take a second to put in a quick plug for your website because there's some great resources available to anyone out there that is kind of wondering and looking for a little bit of follow-up. For example, one of the questions that I saw come in was wondering about PCI compliance. So that's something maybe, actually, Anthony, do you want to address that? How Zerto is complying with PCI requirements for data at rest and in transit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do support like that network level encryption, so it is protected in flight, and then we obviously suggest that the target site does have some form of encryption too, so we comply with PCI, and on our website you will see all of the compliances that we fall under.
Perfect. And thank you for answering that while I found the link I was looking for, because Nick had posted in response to somebody who had asked about Zerto helping organizations plan and forecast and then analyze their entire multi-site, multi-cloud, and hybrid environments. And Nick responded sort of directing people back to the site. Wondering, Anthony, do you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much perfect. Zerto Analytics is our tool that allows you to see your full disaster recovery strategy across platforms. So if you have Kubernetes environments running, you have VMs, you have instances running in the cloud, you can see all of those grouped together through one single dashboard and get some basically business decision-making metrics behind it, like what are your total RPOs, what can you expect from a service level agreement. So just a great tool to forecast, predict, and help people manage their multi-cloud environments.
How can Zerto use CDP for AWS if VMware's VIO API is only available for vSphere? I feel like I just said 15 acronyms in a row.
That was technical. All right. Yeah, so it's different, right? I think the long and short of that is that we don't use basically VMware on premise any of their stuff. A lot of Zerto's technology is strictly proprietary, so we're able to natively replicate to AWS without interfering with all of those other technologies on the back end because our software does so through its patent. So we're different in that respect, and that's what makes us special in the market.
Perfect. Love that. Okay. I'm just seeing that both Tyler and Sabrina wanted to send you some high fives, Anthony. And I know we're getting pretty close to the end of time, but I'm going to sneak in this question as well, because Abdul was wondering, and I think it's a good one to kind of end on. You did mention a few things in your presentation, what you feel makes Zerto unique, but I'm wondering if we can just sort of end on that note. What do you think is sort of the key standout feature that you would want folks to know? What's the key unique for Zerto?
Oh, the fact that it is basically the most real-time protection that you're going to get from a disaster recovery standpoint. It's very innovative in the fact into how we expand and how we kind of use our proprietary replication to move applications quite easily. And what I think I just love working, here is the fact that it is pushing forward towards that innovation. So we do something well, and we always look to improve on it. So yeah, so what makes Zerto special.
Ooh, I love that, Anthony, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about today, is that innovation and that never stopping, never resting. And I think that hasn't come up, and I'm glad that we are kind of this is a great grand finale for us. But I think kind of reminding folks that not only are you constantly innovating as individuals and for your organization, but looking for vendors and looking for teams that are going to have share that same mindset and kind of come along with you on that journey. Which certainly Zerto is one that does that. So that's a great unique. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you.
All right, Anthony, you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Anthony, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. I forgot to ask you a question. I got so excited about our conversation. What do you want people to do if they want to get started with Zerto? What's their first step?
Yes. We all know the answer. Zerto hands-on labs. I put it in the chat. Definitely go check those out. You can play with Zerto for free, different environments. Talk about the replication from on-premise to AWS that I mentioned in the doc. Kubernetes too, right? You can play with all that for free. I manage them, so come yell at me if something is broken.
Perfect. Yes, go yell at Anthony is your key takeaway from the presentation today. Anthony, thank you so much for that, and please thank Nick for doing a great job on live chat today as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. I just did, for those of you who have heard me say this before, that was a Minnesota goodbye, when you say goodbye and then, one more thing. Anyone from the Midwest will be familiar with the, one more thing. So I won't Minnesota goodbye Anthony again, but I will remind all of you, if you haven't already done so, to head on over to the Handouts tab. Be sure that you click on that Zerto link. You can find Zerto for multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, your way. I love that tagline. Short and spicy. It's nice. It's an awesome and concise data sheet. It's going to cover some great info, reviewing I was kind of thinking about it as I was reading it. It's got the what, the how, and the why. So what it's doing, how it's doing it, and why, which is the important stuff, right? So why you would think about the Zerto solution. So go take a look. Great follow-up to our conversation with Anthony today. Make sure you've downloaded that and saved that for later. Thank you to everyone who filled out the poll. Kari out there is saying yes, indeed, for the Midwest goodbye. Yes, thank you for knowing where I'm coming from there. I think my record is hours. I've taken hours to fully say goodbye from start to finish. That's a solid Midwestern goodbye. All right. Well, I will not Minnesota goodbye this anymore. I'm stalling now because, I'm always just sad to wrap up these webinars. But we are going to do one more prize giveaway. So we do have another prize giveaway to offer here. Before we get to it, though, I just wanted to mention one thing that's a little bit new here, and some of you may have heard me talk about this. This is the Actual Tech Media Decisions Group. So if you haven't had a chance to check this out yet, I'm going to highly recommend that you do. Here's all you need to do. You're going to head into the Handouts tab, click on a link, and there's a link to an application. It's a quick application, and then we review that, and that allows us to sort of match you with vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There's going to be some fun opportunities to choose to join in, so you could sign up to be a part of extra surveys or test running new solutions, excited demos, and so on. So this is a great chance. You could potentially win some extra prizes, chat with great people, learn about hot new trends and emerging tech. So if you're the decision maker on your team, go ahead and sign up for that. If you're not, send that link to whoever is and get them signed up. And make sure that somebody on your team is participating in those conversations, because this is what's going to keep you in that innovation sphere, is being part of conversations like that. So do take a minute to check that out. All right, well, I said the word prize and then I stopped talking about prizes, so let's go back to prizes. All right, so we are going to give away, oh, Michael, I appreciate it. Michael is also saying oh, wait, before you go, one more thing, and then doing that 12 times. Yes, I love this. You guys are all with me today. We're hive-minding today. I dig it. All right, so we're going to give away a prize. I'll remind you all that you do need to be here live present at the summit in order to win. Our next lucky winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Joshua Valdez of New Mexico. Joshua Valdez of New Mexico, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. Our final winners of a grand prize, and this time we're going to give away three of them. I was going to say a, but we have 3 Samsung Galaxy S22 Pluses. I love they keep making the names of these things longer and longer, and I have to say these longer and longer things. Samsung Galaxy S22 Pluses that we will be giving away, that is going to Mohammed Tahir of Pennsylvania, Tori Muncher of Alabama, and Mary McGinnis of Georgia. That was Mohammed Tahir of Pennsylvania, Tori Muncher of Alabama, and Mary McGinnis of Georgia. You have all won a Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus. So congratulations to all of you. Now, I always say I will read the entire prize list out to you all with my very last breaths of these events. I go through the whole list for you. So I'm going to do it here. We've got a gift card going to Andrew Bryce of New Jersey, HomePod going to Tracy Downing of Oklahoma, to Zach Ronald of Massachusetts, and to Venkat Kindi of Virginia. A gift card going to Chandra Thames of Mississippi, a gift card going to Denise Millette of Mississippi, a Mac Mini going to Alexander Lynn of Utah, Zachary Ventola of New Jersey, Jeff Dolatar of California, gift card going to Michael Procton of North Carolina, a gift card going to Joshua Valdez of New Mexico, and a Samsung S22 with a plus going to Mohammed Tahir of Pennsylvania, Tori Muncher of Alabama, and Mary McGinnis of Georgia. All right, well, congrats to all of our winners, and as always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap. Now, don't forget, there is still that best question card. We review all the questions asked after we finish the day, and then we will follow up with the winners. So stay tuned for that. If you asked a great question today, you are entered to win. All right, now I'm going to put up a slide here, and I have a little bit of a caveat to this slide. If any of you have tried to email this email account in the last little bit, we realized that somehow it had disconnected. So if you've been emailing connect@actualtechmedia and we haven't responded to you, that isn't because we don't like you. We like you very much. Please send us another email. If you emailed us and we didn't get back to you, email us again, because we want to hear from you. And what the sort of offer or the ask with this email address is, if you're interested in coming and you think your team would like to present on a megacast, a summit, an ecocast, come have a conversation with Scott and David and I, we would absolutely love that. So again, if you emailed us and we didn't respond, email us again. Assume that we want to talk to you and not that we were ignoring you. There was, as I always say, little tech gremlins in the system there. So send us an email, let us know. We would love to have a conversation with you. All right, well, folks, here it is. We've reached the end. So with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I really want to thank all of our speakers. We had an incredible lineup today from Nobleforce, Strong DM, Rubrik, Red Hat and Forrester Research, and Zerto. All of you have made this summit possible. A big thank you, speaking of which, making things possible, to all of you for attending, for asking some great questions, sending some wonderful little comments. It's really fun for me to interact with all of you. I assure you I cannot see any of your faces if anyone was worried about that, but I see all of your names and I see your comments coming in, and it's nice to see some of those familiar names, and it's nice to see the new friends coming in. And I appreciate all of you who have participated in the conversation today, especially when we're talking about these types of cool, new, innovative tools and trends and products and services, things that really will be building the next round of these enhancements at your organization, and we all benefit from that. So this is a really cool conversation, and I've enjoyed being a part of it with all of you today. Now, I hope you've all learned some things, gotten some tips, some ideas. I hope you enjoyed playing with the ATM Oracle and are ready to do some future predicting of your own. Maybe we'll have to bring the Oracle back out sometime in the future. I certainly enjoyed that. We'll have to keep fact-checking, see how it goes. Well, I don't know about you all, but I have had a fantastic time. And speaking of fantastic times, how's that for a segue there? We actually have an opportunity for you to come back and do this all over again, and that is tomorrow. Now, we will be talking on the EcoCast about supporting, extending, and protecting virtualized and containerized environments. This is such a cool topic. And I know sometimes people tend to, kind of gloss over a little bit when we think about containerized environments, but think about all the cool things that this can enable in your organization. So please do come and join us for that EcoCast Thursday, March 2nd. So that's tomorrow. Tomorrow, folks. We are in March. I don't know if you all remember that. We are in March already. And so that is 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we're going to have a great start to the day. So come join us for that. I hope that I get to see you again tomorrow or at a webinar again soon. And either way, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful end to your day.